condos, when real estate gets tough, those a lot of times get hit the hardest.
Oh, really?
Because
why is that?
There's so many available in a unit. And so if there's default, all of a sudden you have very specific comparables, right? So someone defaults, it goes to foreclosure, that's available. If you're not in foreclosure and you want to sell, if that condo is relatively similar, it's not a unique house, it's a condo. So we saw this in 2008. The south part of Florida just built so many condos. And what will happen is if you get a really high vacancy rate inside of that inside of there, it's hard for people to come and get loans without putting a lot more down payment, which starts to phase out the number of people that are going to come in and buy. Money can be complicated. Let a nerd help you. We're here to demystify the complex nature of money by getting you answers from financial nerds and whiz kids. Welcome to Ask the Money Nerds, a weekly segment of the Wealth Labs podcast where we answer your most pressing money questions. When is a good time to buy a house? Is it wise to pay off student loans or to go get a mortgage and use cash for down payment instead? Is renting a waste of money? Now, you have an opinion on that, Stelva.
I do. Sometimes I rent and it's a good situation for me. I like where I live. I like the mobility, the walkability of my neighborhood. But I think this is a good question. Is renting a waste of my money? Sometimes I feel like it is.
The answer is no.
And I know it's no, but sometimes it still creeps in and I'm thinking, I'm wasting a lot of money here.
I mean, homes don't cash flow, right? But if you want to build memories there, you want to fix things up. I'm not really good at any of that stuff. I would have rented, but my wife wanted to buy, and I love her, and I love the lifestyle that we've created together. So I'm like, fine, we'll buy. But to me, that's not like my economic independence. It's not my investment portfolio. It's just something that's for quality of life. It's not what I would consider a main asset.
Yeah.
Because it's not just that you pay for the home. Furniture.
The water heater.
Fixing things up.
The roof.
You name it. Like right now, our home probably needs a little bit of love. Like there's some of the steel railings that probably need to be painted. There's, there's a piece of wood that fell off the garage and I tried to use my very medial skills and it fell down again. So, there's just
consistent
effort
maintenance
to it, right? Like our sprinkler system. I feel like we're fixing that. We just put in a new reverse osmosis water system in it. There's always these expenses that come along with it. And the nicer the home, the more those things start to, add up. The bigger the home, the more those things start to add up. There's utilities, there's all sorts of stuff that I like just calling someone and they fix something.
Yeah.
So it's fine. It's a choice. It's not you're throwing money away. Look, I'll tell you what, the government loves when people buy homes because then you got title companies that are now doing something. But even the people that are, providing the homes that you're renting, they're paying it. So there's like an economic benefit that is usually considered through all this. So anyway, we didn't even get to the question.
I know. One thing, I love the apartment that I live in, but I had a water heater go out about a year ago and I was like, I'm so glad I don't have to pay for that. I'm just calling maintenance. They come up and they repair it.
Amanda.
Sweet life.
Let me tell you what's going on here. Our air conditioner, it's been hot this summer. It went out. And so we had to get it fixed. It was a couple $1,000. And he's like, you guys should be getting this cleaned. We had lived there. I'd never had it cleaned. I didn't think to get it cleaned. I mean, I hired my buddy Guy to come and do the air ducts and all that stuff for good air, but didn't think about the air conditioner. So yeah, we had to pay for that to get fixed and something else. It was some plumbing issue like that. My sink clogs up. Maybe like it's my oily Italian skin. I don't know what's going on, but maybe it's that I shave and, just leave it in the sink or whatever it is. I don't know. I keep it clean, but the pipes just, whatever. So we had to get that fixed. We had to get something else fixed. And so in one day, just tossed away $3,600.
Yikes. Yeah. So I think part of the reason why people feel like they're wasting money when they're renting is it kind of feels like, and I don't want to say this word, but it's the only word that has come to my mind, but like they're pissing their money away.
Wow.
I know. I can't believe I said that.
Throwing your money away is what some people might say, but not Stelva. She classed it up with piss the money away. I like it.
I can't believe I just said that on camera.
I can, but I don't know. I mean, yeah. Okay. So you have a home, you pay off the mortgage and now you got the value of the home. What did it really appreciate over time? Did it beat inflation? And did you account for all the additional expenses you had? Like when I bought my first house, we put in a yard, we put in a sprinkler system. Didn't even come with the mailbox. Didn't come with a garage opener. I mean, there was like all these things. I'm like, oh, and then we had this TV that was about this big. Then you have a remote, but a big old space for a TV. So we bought a bigger TV. I mean, those aren't all that expensive when it comes down to it today.
It adds up over time.
But that kind of stuff starts to add up. Then we move into our house that we're in now. And my wife's like, this is too masculine. So we need to repaint the walls yellow. And she was right. It does make it happier.
It's
you know,
bright and cheery
and then
space.
she took some of the like shiny stuff and put more like limestone. I mean, but we got a nicer couch over time. It's been a lot of money, and it's not that I'm complaining about it. I'm just comparing that renting versus buying. We were happy when we were renting a place. I mean, it's fine. So don't feel bad about it.
Yeah. And you don't have to feel like buying a home and making that investment is the best investment you'll make in your lifetime, because I feel like that's a lot of the conversations.
Maybe one of the worst that you'll make, but it might provide a lot of enjoyment and quality of life. But it's not helping you get to economic independence for many people. It's harming them. And here's the thing to watch for: a lot of people don't buy the home based upon the price of the home; they buy it based upon the payment. And they get bigger homes than they could really afford, because with bigger homes, there's more utilities, there's more rooms that need furniture, there's as problems happen, there's more things that need to be fixed. And so that's part of the process. I remember we had this house under contract, and my attorney's like, do you really want to move in that big of a home? He's like, we have that big of a home, and it's overkill. We don't even go to a lot of the rooms. And so I actually lost my earnest money, decided not to close on it. The house we're in now is smaller than that, which means we have less things to accumulate.
Yeah.
We give more things away. We're more deliberate about what we choose to buy. I think those kind of things are healthy.
I can agree with that. Should we get to Lisa's question?
Oh, yeah. I guess there is a question here now. I mean, we're just dropping this knowledge here now.
So Lisa is wondering, I'll give you her details on our situation, and it's pretty short, but there's a question in here too. I'm trying to get my finances in order. I have over $500,000 in loans, public and private. I'm trying to figure out if buying a condo by March of 2021 instead of renting is a good idea given the real estate market, or should I just start paying down my student loans? Well,
here's the thing. Condos, when real estate gets tough, those a lot of times get hit the hardest.
Oh, really?
Because
why is that?
There's so many available in a unit. And so if there's default, all of a sudden you have very specific comparables, right? So someone defaults, it goes to foreclosure, that's available. If you're not in foreclosure and you want to sell, if that condo is relatively similar, it's not a unique house, it's a condo. So we saw this in 2008. The south part of Florida just built so many condos. And what will happen is if you get a really high vacancy rate inside of that inside of there, it's hard for people to come and get loans without putting a lot more down payment, which starts to phase out the number of people that are going to come in and buy.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of them are second homes in certain areas. So where you live matters too. If that condo unit, has a lot of condos and a lot of those people, it's like Vegas and they just have a second place there, or it's Southern, it's Florida or Southern California. Like you might run that risk because during difficult times, people are going to sell their second homes a lot of times, and that's going to create a bit of a problem. So be careful. And I think that if you can be patient, there's going to be more opportunity down the road. The question is going to be, will you be able to qualify? Now, just paying money down on student loans, it really depends. I like to have cash on the side, earning it in a safe and secure place. Cashflowbanking.com is my preference. There might be other options for people. But then if you want to pay it off in one fell swoop. Just by paying it down, you lose liquidity. You don't have access to that money. You're just paying that loan down. So the question is, well, look, if you can only get 4 or 5% on cash flow banking, but you're paying 8% on your student loans, well, then it might be slower setting the money on the side versus just paying that down. So part of it comes to, do you get peace of mind by paying that off? Do you feel better because that's paid off? And versus if you have a home, do you feel more productive? When I was living in an apartment, because I was a complete miser, you've heard the stories when I was first married, like I didn't want to spend any money ever, to the point where my wife was a school teacher, first grade teacher, and the clothes she wore in college weren't appropriate for being a school teacher, essentially. And her mom had to step in and buy clothes, even though I was making 6 figures, because I was so miserly. And once I kind of had a paradigm shift that became more abundant, we actually bought a home that we really loved and enjoyed, and it was well within our means. It was like 1 times what I earned the previous year. So it wasn't like extravagant, but we enjoyed it. And I actually hosted things. We started having people over. I started hosting study groups over there. So it actually, I felt better. and we had a yard and we had young kids. And, so there was definitely benefits to that. At the same time, it had an unfinished basement, which I spent way too much money finishing when that didn't add any value to the home. And when I sold it, I didn't get any value for what I put into that basement. So I think it all comes down to, are you saving enough money? Are you paying yourself first? Have you invested in yourself and you've expanded what you're making to the point where you're adding tons of value? Do you know where to invest to create cash flow? And when you've checked those boxes and you want to buy something like that, fine. Just make sure it's within your means, because $500,000 in loans and still maybe wanting a condo, there might be a bit of a conflict there. Maybe paying things down puts you in a safer position. You have less outgo. And getting that condo versus what you're paying for rent, there's also the comparison there.
Do you want to touch on a little bit, since $500,000 in student loans is quite a bit, like,
I don't know if that's all student loans or not, or other loans, maybe it's car loans.
Yeah, I guess I'm inferring that. I think that's what she said in her question, but we could be off on our assessment of that. But just
crazy enough that is the case in a lot of situations,
common.
like especially a doctor.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope that we still have great doctors 20 years from now because of the cost that they have to go to school and the student loans, and then what they're getting pinched with what they get paid by insurance companies. It's kind of a scary time for that profession.
Yeah, I agree with that. So is there a way that you can help her understand which loans to maybe focus on first?
Yeah. Why don't you know the answer. Go ahead and give it to us,
I
Stova.
want you
Come on,
to.
All right, cash flow index is what we want to do here. That's where you're leading me. And I like it. I didn't even have it in my head and you took me there. So that's great. All right. So cash flow index, you just take the loan balance of all your loans individually and divide them by the required payment. And that's whatever that monthly payment is. And if it's less than 50, that is a cash hog. It means you have a really high payment in relationship to a fairly low balance, and that's killing your cash flow.
Yeah.
That's a cash flow killer. So you want to pay every extra dollar to the lowest cash flow index loans and pay the minimum to everything else. So you're prioritizing what's going to free up cash flow the fastest.
Yeah.
It's not always the one with the highest interest rate. It's the one with the lowest cash flow index.
Yeah.
So when you have a loan that's over 100 on a cash flow index, once again, the loan balance divided by the minimum monthly payment, that's going to spit out the number. More than 100 is a pretty efficient loan. So you're not, you don't have so much outgo for how much you borrowed. So yeah, use that cash flow index to prioritize. Pay extra only one loan at a time, pay the minimum to everything else. See if you could renegotiate the interest rate, see if you could restructure the loans, see if you could use underperforming assets to pay off a higher interest rate, because that becomes a guaranteed return right there.
Okay. I
All
like
right,
it.
cool. Now you have the knowledge to turn your thoughts into profits. Yeah, it's a pretty good thing to do. Check out budgetingsucks.com, my newest book. Put a lot into it. It's been years in the making. Help you keep more of what you make, help you make more money, help you be a lot more efficient with your dollars so you plug leaks automatically, create infrastructure so you don't have to budget and scrimp and save and sacrifice and delay your entire life away. Budgetingsucks.com. Build the life you love.